Good evening. A strong warning from the Premier tonight that a lockdown is likely coming to Toronto, Peel and York. A visibly fed up Doug Ford said to expect an announcement this Friday.
I'm done with people holding parties, having get-togethers, and unfortunately, everyone in those regions have to hunker down. They end up paying the price because careless people out there holding these parties. It's not going to be tolerated. We got to knuckle down. Simple as that. And I just see it out there. Some people are just throwing up their hands and saying, "Oh, if I get it, I get it." That doesn't cut it anymore. Right now, we're staring down the barrel of another lockdown in these regions.
And here are the latest numbers in Ontario causing so much concern. 74% of today's new patients are coming from Peel, Toronto and York. All three of those health units are reporting caseloads in the triple digits. Every other region in the Toronto area is reporting at least 40 new infections. In all, 1,417 new coronavirus cases are being reported across the province. That's up by nearly 170 from yesterday. It's also the fifth largest total Ontario has seen so far. Meanwhile, 32 additional deaths are being confirmed. That is the highest number of fatalities reported in a single day since early June. 26 of those victims were long-term care home residents. Now, I'm told by a government source that a lockdown would not look the same as it did in March, that so much has been learned from them, and schools would likely stay open if there's a lockdown, unless it's a very last resort. Now, the health minister did offer a glimmer of hope in the future, saying Ontario expects up to 2.6 million doses of vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna to be delivered between January and March. Both, according to the companies, are shown to be around 95% effective. Officials have said they will go to vulnerable residents and frontline healthcare workers first. And just one day after floating the idea of extending the holiday break for students due to COVID concerns, the education minister said in a statement today after consulting with the chief medical officer of health, that's not necessary. It begs the question, why the quick flip-flop when he said he needed a week or so to decide, and what changed so quickly?
Well, what's changed? He put his plan in front of the health table. Dr. Williams said, no, the safest place for our kids, and it's working to the credit of Minister Lecce and the teachers and school boards and principals.
And the very moment the education minister put out the statement that extending the holiday break was not necessary, the Auditor General was beginning her news conference, outlining her damning report that concludes the Ford government is at risk of missing emission reduction targets because it's not a cross-government priority. Coincidence? Probably not.
This government and this Premier are failing to follow its own environmental laws. They're avoiding transparency, they're missing their own targets to reduce emissions, and they're failing to protect the environment. Clean water, clean air for Ontarians are at risk.
The Environment Report also finds multiple ministries are non-compliant with Environmental Bill of Rights Act, and there's no long-term plan to protect Ontario's parks and other protected areas. The Environment Minister responded, saying the government is still committed to meeting emission reduction targets, and the government will look at the AG's findings. But what should not be lost in all the politics at Queen's Park today is the number of deaths. Again, that number is 32. And we just learned today a child and youth worker from a Toronto Catholic school in North York died of COVID this morning. Toronto Public Health has not said publicly whether she got the virus in the community or the school.